October 9th, regular selectmen's meeting. All the selectmen are here, along with the town manager, the town clerk. We have the chief of police, the foreman of the water department. There's our assessor and our auditors. Oh, recreation, yep.
And Kim?
Yep, hiding back there for us. The recreation is here. Please stand with me and salute the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder for the selectmen to put your microphones on. We had some calls about our last meeting where people couldn't hear what we were saying. I find that hard to believe, but approval of the meeting minutes from our September 18th meeting.
So moved with an addendum to add myself to a roll call. Other than that, that's it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
So we have a motion to pass as amended. All those in favor? Thank you.
I wasn't here.
And Mark wasn't here. First public comment. First public comment is 15 minutes long. If you have a comment, please step to the podium, state your name, and address all questions, complaints, curses to the board, please. See, nope.
Hi there, I'm Michael Wright on Cemetery Road. I'm not a public speaker. When I have to address a board or something like that, I always find it safer to write my thoughts down, and that way I don't forget anything. So, as I said, I'm a resident on Cemetery Road. I've been on the board of directors of the Great Works Regional Land Trust for 32 years. And I want to talk about Great Works' efforts to protect natural resources, open spaces, and working landscapes in Berwick, one of the 6 towns in the area that we serve. Great Works Regional Land Trust is a private nonprofit organization incorporated in 1986 to provide landowners with options to conserve their farms, forests, and wetlands for the benefit of current and future generations. We have worked with landowners, private foundations, other nonprofits, the towns of Berwick, North Berwick, South Berwick, Elliott, Wells, and Ogunquit, and state and federal agencies to protect natural resources, working landscapes, and to provide open spaces for public recreation. As of February 2018, we have completed 124 projects protecting 6,289 acres. We own and manage 2,662 acres, and we have 2,566 acres under conservation easements with private landowners. We have 19 properties with maintained trails available at no cost to the public. We have guided hikes throughout the year on these properties. In Berwick, we currently have public trails on our Grants Meadow Preserve and the very popular Key Brook Preserve. And we will be adding trails on the Tuckahoe Preserve and the property that Mike and Steve Kaplan donated to Great Works in 2017. People can check out our Great Works website for more information about the trust and see our calendar of events and trail maps. There's a link to Great Works on the town's website of the community. In Berwick, we have completed 18 projects protecting 1,350 acres. These include 5 farmland projects totaling 645 acres, 4 projects along the Salmon Falls River totaling 403 acres, and 3 in the Beaver Dam Heath focus area totaling 173 acres. Great Works and the people of Berwick have been partners in 3 projects. Voters approved donating town-acquired land to our Grants Meadow Preserve and Beaver Dam Heath, and approved funds to help us purchase our Key Brook Preserve and the Tuckahoe Preserve. Great Works' efforts to conserve natural resources and open spaces has helped Berwick to meet at least 15 policy goals listed in the town's comprehensive plan. From protecting water quality, maintaining rural areas, open spaces, working landscapes, and providing recreational opportunities, Great Works Regional Land Trust is helping Berwick to be the town that our residents want it to be. It has always been the trust policy to pay property taxes in the towns we serve. Last year, Great Works paid in excess of $22,000 on land we own. Since 2008, we have paid $33,418 in property taxes to Berwick. Great Works requires very little in terms of municipal services, unlike residential development that adds to the cost of police, public works, the fire department, and schools. There are considerable expenses to Great Works Regional Land Trust to protect our open spaces and natural resources. We maintain an administrative office with 5 part-time employees. We incur expenses for surveys, title searches, appraisals, legal fees, and maintaining trails and parking areas. We have a volunteer board of directors and a lot of enthusiastic volunteers to help with trails and other tasks. I hope you take these facts into consideration when deciding Great Works' request for abatement on our capital property taxes. As stated in the letter from our stewardship director, our application to place the property into tree growth tax program was delayed as we were waiting to hear from the Natural Resource Conservation Service about a grant we applied for to help us pay for a management plan. We awarded the funding from NRCS this year and have contracted with a registered forest to complete the forestry management plan and recreational activity plan. In the near future, we'll be creating on this property a trail through the woods and along the Salmon Falls River for the public to use, with guided hikes, educational programs for school children and adults, protecting wildlife habitat and water quality. So I hope that you consider all of the benefits that the town derives from Great Works Regional Land Trust and will approve the abatement for our property taxes. It will help us to continue to serve our communities to the best we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? And we have no public hearing tonight. There's reports of committees, BCTV.
Evening. First, I'd like to thank all of you for signing that letter to Charter Communications. It was very appreciated. That is only our first round of battles that we have coming for us. So I'd like our viewers as well as you to know that the FCC has now proposed and passed on the 26th new laws regarding cable across the country. After spending billions on the rollout of cable, which has never been completed, by the way, they're now saying these multi-billion-dollar giants have decided they want us to pay for 5G wireless. So what they're saying this law includes is a clause that towns and cities may not charge for the use of the towers or the space required for those towers. Towns and cities will have no say in the location, and it will ultimately mean cable giants have no responsibility to the customers or the towns and the cities they profit from.
Who the hell's telling us this?
It is the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, at the national level.
They're telling us we have no say of where they put a tower?
We're trying to fight it. The Alliance for Community Media is trying to fight this proposal.
Yeah. What are the towers for?
What is what?
Is it government-owned towers or something like that?
No, it's cable-owned towers.
Yeah, that's bullshit. That ain't gonna happen.
I'm just telling you what was proposed on the 26th and what we've got coming for another battle. Or at least what I see as a battle for small access stations. Ultimately, the customers will suffer in this. PEG stations will slowly die. Your ability to see local meetings and events will disappear. Please go to our webpage. On my webpage on the Berwick Community TV site, I actually have put links to the bill, what the FCC has proposed, along with information from the Alliance for Community Media. Highly recommend that people check into this, and if you have you know, the urge, please write to your senators, your legislators, to ask them to rescind this. They're going to pass it through according to what they're saying by the end of this year. They want to have everything in place before the new
So
legislature
that's the
session.
FCC.
The FCC.
Well,
It's
it
a-
should go before the PUC first, right?
Well, if
Utilities
it's
Commission?
passed at the federal level, they're basically telling states, we don't care. This is what you got. This is what you need to do. So I'm trying to gather information to that end. Next
we-
weekend, I'll be attending a meeting
You know what
on
we
this.
can tell them to do, right? So.
I do, but
Unbelievable.
so that's one of the things that we have coming. Now, on a lighter note, Kim and I recorded the PSA for the Halloween trunk or treat this year. And this year, BCTV is going to try something new. We're going to go live with BCTV right here in our room. So we're going to set up the cameras. The kids can come in. We'll have candy. Of course, we'll have candy. Have no fear. But we'll have it decorated in here, and the kids can see themselves on TV. We'll have it set up with the laptop out here, but they'll have access to the room here as well, so they can see themselves going out live. The great thing is, people at home can see the costumes. They get to enjoy this just as much as we do, which is kind of fun. As a matter of fact, if anyone out there is really good at decorating, I could use some help because that's not my forte. So please, Halloween decorations you can send this way. BCTV is also helping community organizations. We donated money toward the Berwick Public Library fundraiser, and they're going to be holding a bluegrass concert on October 13th. Don't miss it. This is going to be a great concert with Southern Rail. Tickets are $15. You can buy them online, or you can go up to the library and buy them there. BCTV is also looking for ways we can give back to our town. To that end, we're discussing with the town manager at this time donation toward a new web page for Berwick. And that goal is twofold. One is it benefits us, but it benefits the residents. A user-friendly site that people can click on, go to, and find information easily is just, it's an asset to the town. So BCTV wanted to go in on that, and we've donated money toward that end. We're also looking at a candidates forum here on the 24th, hosted by the library and by the Chamber of Commerce, the Great Falls Chamber of Commerce in Somersworth. This will go out live to residents because we're going to hold it right here, which is fantastic. It will be representative district only. So it will be Noah Cobb, Beth O'Connor, and Charlie Glamero. They will be here. The other thing is I have recruited a new member for the committee. It was hard. Ralph Morang has decided that he would like to join the committee, which is fantastic because he's already working with us and the library. He has some great information in regards to photographing and doing videos, so I'm looking forward to having him on the committee and his input. I'm going to have him write a letter, and hopefully we can get him appointed at the end of the month. Any questions? Perfect. Thank you very much.
Next is Envision Berwick. I don't believe we have anybody here for Envision Berwick.
They have a meeting tomorrow night,
Okay.
5:30.
If there's no objection, I'm going to move one item up in the schedule. We have some guests here from the Augusta area, and they'd like to get moving and heading back north. We have the SHAPE Award is being awarded to the Water District. Please step forward.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. So my name is Mike LaPlante. I work for the Workplace Safety and Health Division, Maine Department of Labor. With me is my boss, Steve Greeley, who's the Director of Workplace Safety and Health, and our boss, Dan Bolduc, that's the Director of,
Brought the big guns out.
yes, Director of Bureau of Labor Standards. So, as we first, the Honorable Chairman said, hey, what do we do bad? We're not here for something bad. We're, little background, we do the same thing FedOSHA does on the municipal side, state government, county government, cities and towns, and so on. We do fatality investigations, accident investigations, amputations, hospitalizations, complaints, and when we're not doing any of those, we show up unannounced and say, we're here to inspect. Hugely popular program, right, Steve?
Yep.
Yep. But, on the good side, a previous director of ours had this idea of the SHAPE program. It's called Safety and Health Awards for Public Employers. Because we go to places and it's not all bad. And people can apply and get into this program if they want. This program was started in 2005 as a similar program. We manage a program for the federal government called SHARP. Same idea. We're looking for good employers. Since 2005, we have only given 90 of these awards out. So if you do the math, it's seven and a half a year. There's not that many since 1990. So these awards only are given to exemplary employers for outstanding occupational safety and health, protecting our employees, keeping everybody safe, which brings us here tonight. The star, Glenn, had applied to get into the SHAPE program, and she's done a lot of work, and we're here tonight to, oh, she's not here, give the SHAPE Award out. I know she's busy. Give the SHAPE Award to the Berwick Water Department. So,
Chris Wiseman.
Steve, you gotta get the speeches in, you know.
Ah.
As Mike mentioned, my name's Stephen Greeland, the Director of Workplace Safety and Health with Maine Department of Labor. And, you know, as Mike mentioned previously, you know, we have two sister programs there, SHARP being private sector, SHAPE being public sector. And both of them are worked with our Safety Works consultation program. So, you know, Mike talked about the NOC with the enforcement, but again, we have 3 enforcement and we have 10 consultants that go out and assist towns if they are looking for assistance. One of the things that this award's good for 2 years. The nice part is if you look down at the bottom here, you have these little plates, and those are for renewal. So this is something that the water department or water district can reapply in 2 years and continue this relationship. One of the key pieces, once you're into this program, is because you have your programs in place, you're not having injuries, you're working with consultation, we remove you from our enforcement list, or we remove the water district. The rest of the town, you're still, sorry, you still fall under the enforcement piece. But the water district will be removed from our programmed inspection list. You know, if there's a complaint or a serious accident, that would be something different. But as far as actually showing up and knocking, saying we're here doing an inspection, still may get an inspection, but they just would skip the water district. And the reason we can do that, as I mentioned, is because they have the programs in place. They're not having injuries. Our time can be much better spent at places that don't have the written programs, that are having injuries that are greater than the average. So it's really a win-win for everyone involved. As mentioned, I always feel a little guilty when I get talking about the renewal piece, because I know how hard it is to get this program, and we're here tonight to celebrate, but really the work's just beginning, because, you know, we want to come back in 2 years and give you a plate. So congratulations as far as tonight, but the work's just beginning. Let me turn it over to Danny.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mike. My name is Danny Bold. I come from Waterville. I'm the new director of the Bureau of Labor Standards. I've been on the job for all of 5 months. Previously, I was an insurance agency owner in Oakland, Maine. And before that, I was a professional hockey player with the Detroit Red Wings in the NHL. So, a little bit of a change, but that's okay. All of you in the room are to be commended for your efforts to attain SHAPE. You survived the audits, you made the necessary adjustments, and now the Water District has made a statement that you care about safety, and you've made safety a priority. Achieving the SHAPE certification demonstrates a willingness to be a leader in protecting your employees and the general public, a willingness to put your department out there as a model and a challenge for other public entities in the state to step up and do what you have done. Promoting a culture of safety is infectious. Your department is being recognized and commended for your impressive commitment. And so on behalf of Governor Paul LePage, Commissioner John Butera, and the Maine Department of Labor, congratulations for a job well done. The Berwick Water Department, our newest SHAPE location. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm really accepting this for Star Glenn, who's a true professional in the safety field, and she ensures that we pay attention to what's going on and adjust things when necessary. She's trying to do even more water department work and making a presentation tomorrow down in Massachusetts at a symposium, so she needed a little sleep. But she's the real reason, and I'm very grateful that we hired her and we got the support from the town to make the changes we needed to make to achieve this award. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, everybody.
So, I just wanted to share, you probably ought to call Maine Municipal, if you're a Maine Municipal town tomorrow, and let them know, because I believe they give you a bit of a discount on your insurance just because of one department getting in.
Yep.
Be nice someday if we come back and get the whole department, bigger discount. But as Steve mentioned earlier, we can do enforcement, but if we can get an employer to proactively do what the water department has done, makes our job easier and your job easier. It's just better for everybody, so. And I appreciate very much that you put us on early. We can get home by.
Thank the chair.
Thank you, boss.
Not a problem.
Gonna get
Thank
right
you.
out of here.
Sorry that we have to
And you
leave.
see how much Mimic is sending back to the employee,
Thank you.
to the ratepayer?
Gonna stay on your good side, that's for sure.
I know, right?
That I just learned.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
So Mimic, you see where Mimic is giving back 22 million back to
Isn't that
to
fantastic?
the rates, yeah. That's quite a bit of money.
Employers that have done a great job, and
Yeah.
Memic has had a history of doing that,
Oh,
and this
yeah.
is a record year for them, so
Yeah.
that's really
Quite a chunk of
spectacular.
money.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. You did a great job. Perfect.
Well, that'll bring us into department reports. Is Water Department's first up.
Hi, I'm Chris Wiseman, the Chief Operator and Department Head of the Water Department, and good evening. I'm here to give you a little update on what's happening at the Water Department. Interrupt at any time if you have a question, and Water Department is doing well. So far this year, we've provided about 48 million gallons of water to the town. That's right about on par with previous years. There has been a slight decline in the total amount of water we've provided over the last 7 or 8 years, but it's been consistent for the last 2. The manganese system that we installed in the plant last year after the disastrous drought of 2016 has been doing its job well. Although there's no real limit on the amount of manganese in the water by regulation, the EPA is studying it, and I believe they will come up with some regulations. And the health level that they reference is 0.3 of a part per million in the water, and we are consistently reducing it to far below that. So it's been a success.
That's all because of the manganese? Manganese took care of the problem?
The potassium permanganate we add to the water, which removes it. The manganese is invisible and dissolved when it comes in the water, and when we add the permanganate to it, it turns it into a solid form that we can filter out with our existing filters.
I ran into this machine that you actually put it in your tank, right? And then it drops in the tank, and it comes out, runs on 110. It's a little it's a little motor that pumps air into the tank, and you put aerobic enzymes in it. And what ends up coming out of the tank, when you see it in the glass, it's not as clean as drinking water, but boy, I'll tell you, pretty close. You can use it for drip irrigation.
Oh.
And you could cut the size of your leach field in half and still keep the same, you could double your footage by adding that machine to your tank. There's some pretty neat stuff coming down the line, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Their advancements are constantly being made. So we're happy to be able to get that out of the water. Right now at the plant, we're going through a filter rehab project, which involves taking all the media out of one of our filters and sandblasting the interior and repainting it, replacing some of the small parts in the media that have been improved over the last 20 years since the filters were put in. And so we're using just one now while one is being worked on, and then we'll switch. The contractor, Penta, from New Hampshire, is so far doing a very methodical and careful job. It's just been going on a week, and we've got about 7 weeks to go. And it looks good so far. We've run the single filter a longer period of time, and that hasn't turned out to be a problem either. We've adjusted our hours. We've made some good progress on other challenges. When we add chlorine to the water, we create disinfection byproducts, which are strictly limited by the EPA. And we did a study involving multiple testing as the water went through the plant to find out exactly when these were being created. And we've learned that the time the water spends in the plant overnight when we're not running the plant makes a lot of difference, that extra 16 hours there. So we've got a couple of ideas we're working on to see if we can improve it in a relatively simple way. That's about it for what's going on. Our 3 operators are working effectively and looking at professional advancement as much as they can. Anything else I can tell you?
Sounds like things are going well.
Yeah,
We
satisfactory?
haven't had any complaints, so there's must be
That's what we
going well.
like, no complaints
Yeah.
on the water.
That's perfect for us too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is, Chief?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I passed some copies of what I'm going to talk about to the town manager, so I think you guys have copies. I'll go a little bit out of line. Anybody that's wondering about the facial growth that I have going, it's a benefit that we're involved with for the Child Advocacy Center up in York County. It's where they do interviews with kids that are victims of sex crimes. So each officer pays $30, $1 a day for the month of October. They don't shave, and when people ask us why we have facial hair, we can tell them that you need to donate to this cause. So that's what this is all about. We'll get that out of the way. So calls for service statistically, today I was looking at our numbers. I'm having a little difficulty only for the moment in looking at our statistics because of the transition that we've had between South Berwick and Sanford dispatch centers. We're still waiting for the data to merge from one server to the other. So the way that the information was entered in South Berwick is a little different than the way it is entered in Sanford, and until the tech people get that to merge, I'm looking at really 2 different sets of information, and it's a little hard to dissect. I can tell you that the bottom number is correct, and we're about 6.5% below our calls for service, means it's been a little quiet, which is a good thing. Budget-wise, we came in at the end of the first quarter at 23.64%, which is a little less than the 25% that's allocated. So we're doing well there. Training, as far as training inside the police department, we finished our Bureau of Labor training that we have to do each year. We have one more firearms qualifications that's going to happen next Wednesday, Thursday. We do a nighttime shoot, low-level, light, and no-light shooting. Officer Kevin Ledoux is our firearms instructor, and he does a tremendous job with our use of force training. We're very fortunate to have him. In addition, the guys still have some mandated training that we have to meet for the state. They require that we meet a certain standard each year. They give us topics that we have to have training in, and those topics are listed again in that report that I have given you. We hosted a conducting background investigation class at the police department. And by doing that, we were given 2 free spots. So we're basically hosting it, giving them a space to give this training, and in return, we, again, get a few free spots. So we're trying to bring a little bit more of that inside the department. It'll cut down our savings, our training costs, and save a little bit of money. One of the bigger projects that we have going right now is we're working on becoming accredited to the state under the Maine Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. That's a modified program. You've probably heard of CALEA, which is a national standard. Maine has adopted created a same type of a system with just a few less standards that we need to meet to make it a little more cost-effective for smaller communities. It's a lengthy process, and it's very labor-intensive. Nick Higgins has been doing a tremendous job with that. A lot of it is clerical/administrative work, getting policies to match up with what the standards need to be. The end result of that will be, if we gain accreditation, it will reduce our liability. You know, the occasions where we might be having liability will be reduced, and we'll save a little bit of money with Maine Municipal's insurance. So there'll be a savings there of up to 15%. So there's a little incentive for us to do that. Ultimately, what it does is it brings the department into what they consider best practices within law enforcement. Very regimented way of doing things, policy-wise. And again, as far as litigation, it reduces that a great deal. So there's incentives on both sides for that. I did, on the back of that report, attach an article that was in the Maine Townsman. It's only 2 pages long. It's called Maine Police Agencies Can Now Seek State Accreditation. And it really gives you a pretty good summary of what I'm talking about with a little more detail. And that's online too. I didn't copy it and violate any copyright laws. It's something that you can get on the internet. We finished our ATV details. We do that every year. We've been doing those since 2006. What that does is it gets our officers out into some of the remote areas that we haven't been able to get to in the past with the police ATV that we have. We saw a dramatic reduction in the amount of damage to people's property, littering, stuff like that, out in those back areas just by doing these spot checks. They're very sporadic. I think this year we went out about a dozen times, and it just keeps people honest, I guess is how I'll leave it at that. Very successful. On September 11th and 12th, we recognize Officer Robert or Bobby Gallant. He was an officer that was killed here in the line of duty back in 1982. He was actually struck on Route 9 on the 11th and died in the hospital on the 12th. His mom is still alive, and our department still keeps a very close communication with her. In fact, we just had lunch with her last week. Very incredible woman. She's done some work on the Maine Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, as well as the one in Washington, D.C. So very, very active lady, and just a really nice person. I talked a little bit about communications, the transition between South Berwick and us going to Sanford Regional. I can tell you that South Berwick was tremendous right to the very end as far as a working relationship, professional right to the very last day that they shut their system down. We have the one last step to do, and I kind of already talked about it. It's that data migration, but for all intensive purposes, they're doing our dispatching completely right now. Once the data is merged, it will be complete. And we've had very few glitches. It was a pretty smooth process. There was a lot of work that went into that. And as far as the officers and the day-to-day activities, Sanford's been doing a great job for us as well, so we're happy with that. Community relations, on the 3rd last week, we did participated in Coffee with a Cop. What that meant was Bill Vashon and I stayed at Cumberland Farms for a couple hours in the early morning, and Captain Locke and Steve Schizler went to Mayo's. Depending upon how you look at it, the captain and the sergeant got to serve food. Bill and I just got to talk to people. So It was good. You see a lot of people that you don't normally see, and it's just a good experience. We'll be doing that again in the future. I talked about the facial hair. Personnel, I do have some movement inside the police department. No movement for any issue other than an individual wants to have a change in what they've been doing. It's Steve Schizler. He worked in Kennebunkport for really a complete career. He was there for a little over 20 years. A large portion of that, he was a sergeant. And when he came here, he came in as a patrolman. He asked and was promoted to the sergeant's position, and he's just looking for a change. We have the detective's position is open. We're full staff, but we haven't filled that function, and he's interested in doing that. So that was not a quick decision on his part. He and I talked about it numerous times, so he's confident. He's making a good choice, and I'm supportive of that as well.
I think he's a good choice. I like him. Good guy.
He's gonna too, I mean, he'll be working hand in hand with Bill Vashon.
Yeah.
So as far as the community relations part, Steve is a resident here, just as Bill is. I think he'll do a tremendous job. He has the experience as far as law enforcement, so he's well-rounded, and I think he'll do well there.
Tim, it used to be in the past, when you brought new officers on board, if they would come in and introduce themselves to us.
Yes.
Any way we could do that in the future?
You can. We haven't brought anybody new, and I think I did the last ones, but it's been a few years, other than our animal control officer that I'm going to talk about here, and I'm sure she'd come in if you
Yeah.
want to meet her.
'Cause they're good guys. I catch them sleeping everywhere.
I'd like to know about that if you do.
No way. One hand runs the other.
So, with Steve going into the detective's position, it opens up a sergeant slot, so we're having a promotional process. In fact, tomorrow is the third step in that process, which is oral boards. I have two individuals that are vying for that position. One is Nicholas Higgins, and the other is Kevin Ledoux. Both very well-rounded officers, and it's right now it's neck and neck going into the oral board, so either one of those will be a good addition to the supervisor staff there. And we talked about, just briefly, Carol Harris is our new animal control officer. She came to us with a great deal of experience, and her approach to the public is educated with common sense. She works with the people, gives them every opportunity to comply before she has to take any enforcement action. She's been doing a tremendous job, and I'm very pleased with having her on the department. And she's setting up a rabies clinic for us on November 11th, which is Veterans Day. I realized she didn't want to conflict with that, but that was when she could get volunteers to help her. So on the 11th, which is a Sunday, we'll be having a rabies clinic at the police department. Dogs go in one side and hopefully come out the other. And last, just, again, a little insight. We had our department meeting last Thursday. We try to have 3 or 4 a year. Typically, when the guys get together, it's usually for a specific function, like a parade or a critical incident. So the department meetings is a time when, we get together and we can chat about what's going on inside the department and outside. It keeps everybody focused. It's also time that we do some of the training that we all have to meet each year. So we had that last Thursday, and we'll probably have another one just prior to the close of the end of the year. So that's what I have for you, unless you have questions for me.
Any questions of the chief?
Oh, thank
For
you.
the
Thank you very
job well done.
Very detailed.
Good.
And now, Recreation Department.
Pass one on.
You got it.
Good evening, Kim Taylor, Recreation Director. Have a little bit of a report there for you in our latest flyer. Back up a little bit for us, give a little information on our summer camp program. We had 179 kids enrolled, broken down in our Discovery Camp, which is grades K to 2. We had 35 Our Explorer Camp, grades 3 to 5, was 75. Our Adventure Camp, grades 6 to 8, was 69. And we had Camps Not Over, which was a 7th-week additional self-funded for those families that needed it. We had 61 enrolled in that. Our junior volunteer program, where the kids earn community service hours for high school, we had 20 participants enrolled. That was a large group. Had some challenges, but we made it work. And they certainly bring a lot more to the camp program. Many of them could come early, do some setup, do some cleanup, you know, set up obstacle course, set up bouncy house, set up lots of other things that you just can't do when staff are watching kids. And I wanted to say thank you to the American Legion, Show 'em Trucking, Vivian Huzzy Yard Sale, Kennybunk Savings Bank, Berwick Youth Soccer for donating to the scholarship fund, which helped send 32 kids to camp this year. Residents enjoyed discounted tickets to Funtown Splashtown, Splashtown Only, York's Wild Animal Kingdom, Water Country, and new this year was Canterbury Lake Park. And just a couple weeks ago, one of the rec volunteers, Marnie Thibault, who couldn't make it, I do want to say thank you to Natalie and Jen and Armand for supporting recreation tonight. Marnie wanted to get the Penny Pond Trail cleaned up a little bit and try to remark it, and we had over a dozen volunteers show up for that. It was a good turnout. Upcoming events and ongoing events. The Thursday early release program for kids K to 5 on the district's early release afternoon has 14 students, not 41, 14. Next rec commission meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday. Upcoming event is our trunk and treat, which Terry mentioned. We just finished the PSA on. Tuesday, October 30th, which is the same night as trick or treat. Trick or treat is 5 to 8. Our event is 5:30 to 7. We'll have the library passing out books upstairs in the auditorium. That worked really well last year. The kids got to take a little more time to select their books, and it gave the library a place to really spread them out, and good lighting and away from any potential rain. And in the lobby of the town hall, we'll have soup, sandwiches, healthy snacks. Hopefully, get something nutritious into the kids before they get full of candy. Ladies Auxiliary volunteers for that and helps make food and donate and serve. They really enjoy it, but we appreciate their help. We'll have other businesses and residents out in the front parking lot with decorated trunks, handing out candy and treats and all sorts of fun stuff. The fire station will be open for the event. We hope to include more and more businesses in the downtown every year this is a great community event. Adult ladies basketball will be starting up November 5th. I think I have an error on one of the dates, sorry. The farmer's market will be starting next month, November 18th. The hours are 10 to 1:30, but the remainder of the markets will be on the second Sunday.
Am I signed up for that this year?
The farmer's market?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Sydney, the market manager, would know that for sure. I can
let
send
her
her an
know.
email and check.
I can't remember.
But, so they didn't compete with another Seacoast area market. They went to the second Sunday instead of the third. I'm just making a note. Another error, sorry. December 1st, Saturday, will be our annual holiday parade with Somersworth at 2:30. The theme is Deck the Decades, because Somersworth is celebrating 125 years. They kind of wanted to do a walk through time. So that should be fun. And the tree lighting will follow that at 4:15. And the Cub Scouts are going to be helping plan and organize the tree lighting with us this year. Any questions? Anything I didn't cover?
Any questions of Kim?
No.
Great
Comment?
job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yeah,
No.
it seems to be, all I've heard is good things about the program, so it seems to be going well.
My staff and I work very hard to give a good, fun, safe program and work together as a team. And all right.
Good, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That brings us to Christina Howe, RHR Smith Financial Statements. Have a good evening, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So my assumption was that Maureen would have had the chance to go over the actual financial statements with you. Did that happen, or did she have time?
No.
She's
No.
leaving, right?
Yeah, she's leaving Friday.
So I can
She's
do that
leaving
at the end,
Friday.
too, if there's anything in that we sort of want to look at. but that's not included in this. Just a heads up. So if anybody wants, I'm not doing the slides on the screen. There's some handouts up there if you're curious about what we're going to be talking about. So our firm is generally here for about 3 to 5 days max. Maureen, your finance director, will prepare the financial statement. So we review that information, we look at the underlying information, we do sample testing. We'll talk to department heads, we review your policies and procedures, do analytical reviews, and then a few other things, but at the end of it, we issue an opinion. So from our perspective, that you guys received an unmodified opinion, which means that your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. And in addition, the town reported no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses related to your internal controls. So that's great, that's what you want. So if we look at this first page, it's just an overview of, it's like the past 3 years of activity for the town of Berwick. And before I get too far into this, I like my presentations to be conversational. So if you have any questions at all, you want to jump in, let me know. Or if you want to save them questions to the end, I'm happy to answer any questions. So generally, I'll look at the information and just see what pops out, what would I be curious about. So looking at this, I see your cash. The past 3 years, you know, you had just under 4 million, it looks like in 16, then it jumps up in FY17, and then drops back down in FY18. And then if you look over to the left, under your liabilities, you have an interfund payables, and that sort of followed the same sort of jump. And what was going on there was that you guys had a bond in FY17 that gets expensed out of your capital reserve accounts, but your cash, the cash for that bond was actually held in the general fund. So as that project went through, your interfund payable dropped down, but so did that cash that went along with it. And as I look across, I'm not really seeing a lot of fluctuations in those other assets and liabilities. So pretty much you guys are consistent in your activity on your balance sheet. If we look down at the bottom, we have your fund balances. So there's different classifications of fund balances, and you have your non-spendables, and those are going to be things that are inventory, prepaid expenses, your tax-acquired properties. So that's a standard. You have to account for those in your fund balance. It's considered non-spendable. You guys don't have any restricted funds in your general fund, but those would be things like grants or donations, things that require certain sort of okay to spend those funds on. You have your committed fund balances, and those are things that are voted on at your town meeting. So the taxpayers have voted on it, and you have to spend it the way that they voted on it. And then you have assigned, and I'm going to come back to committed and assigned in just a second. And then you have your unassigned fund balance, and that's what everybody's usually curious about. Unassigned, also known for a lot of people as surplus, or in prior times, undesignated funds. They keep changing how they word it, but that's essentially what it is. When you're wondering, it's the unassigned. So if I look at your committed fund balances for 18, 17, and 16, wow, you had a lot in 16, 17, and then it dropped in 18. What's going on there? So looking back through your committed fund balances before in 16 and 17, we actually, or not we, but the use of fund balance have been classified as committed. So when you have your warrant articles that allow for you guys to use your fund balance essentially as part of your funding for your next year's budget, had previously been considered committed. But really, if you look at this Governmental Accounting Standards Board, they're saying, oh, those funds should be assigned. So now they got shifted over to the assigned. That's the $100,000 that's over there now. But in FY17, you guys had used about $500,000 of your fund balance for helping to fund your budget. So that's where that big amount is, and that's why there's a drop there. You didn't use as much you didn't vote to use as much going into your current year budget.
So can we pave more roads?
Well, yeah, we're gonna.
an acre and a half here, is it? No roads next year.
And, it's up to you guys on how you want to create your budget, but your unassigned did go up, so it went up just over 10% last year compared to the prior year. So if we look at the next page, there's just a brief overview, and it's probably not going to be a surprise to you, on what makes up your revenues. So most of it is your taxes, with only about 8% being your other services in town, whether it's your interest, your permits, your services that you're providing. When I looked at your revenue budget actual, your budget to actual, you came in just under budget by about 3%. So, it was within a good range of what you had expected would come in. It was reasonable. Now, if we look at the next page, we have your expenditures, and it's not going to be a surprise that the education makes up over half of your budget. Public safety is the next in line with just 20%. And then when I looked at your budget to actual for that, your expenses actually came in just under 4% of what you budgeted, and you didn't have any overdrafts in your budget, so that's great. And then we get to the final page, which probably feeds into what Mark was wondering about. So this is your unassigned fund balance as a percentage of your operating budget. So in FY16, you guys had about 18.4% of unassigned funds compared to your budget. It drops down to 15.5% in FY17, which shouldn't be a surprise because you voted to use about $500,000 of that unassigned funds that year. And then in FY18, it's back up to 16.6%. So you guys have a fund balance policy with a target of 12.5% of your next year budget. So how does this information relate to you guys in your current year? So if we're going to look at the end of FY18, the unassigned fund balance equated to 16.34% of your FY19 budget. So you still have, if you're shooting for a target of 12.5%, you're at 16.34% at the end of FY18. So there's funds there that, if you want to follow your fund balance policy on how you can utilize some of those funds, that will give you guidance on that.
What's the general guideline for what we should be carrying?
Well, really we rely on your fund balance policy. So there's a few things. It's like, when we think about is a fund balance healthy, it's usually you want to have about 2 to 3 months worth of what your budget is set aside. But then if you also have a policy, that's actually your guiding principle probably, is that you've sat down, you've discussed what are you guys, shooting for, and that's really what is going to give you guidance.
So after looking at, our budget and everything, the 2 to 3 months, where would that fall for us,
Probably we could pull out your, well, I don't have a calculator on me, but, it was considered healthy, so it was,
So,
yeah, I could probably tell you tomorrow if I looked at it, or we could do a quick calculation. Yeah. So that's most of that. If there's things in the financial statements that you would actually be curious about, or things that I might say people might want to look at in general, I could give you some information on that too.
is, going back to the revenues,
Mhm.
this might be more of a question for Steve, the intergovernmental, what kind of funds are those? Is that
The revenues,
revenue sharing coming back from the state?
revenue sharing coming back to the state. I think it includes the homestead exemption,
Yeah, any sort of state or federal
general
funding.
assistance reimbursement, which is very small here.
Yep.
That's about it.
Betty, veterans exemption,
Yeah.
things like that.
Any questions for Christina?
No.
Nope, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you.
And I'd like to say
Good to
thank
hear that we're
you
healthy.
to the town, coming here is very easy to work with everybody, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
No.
Maureen makes it easy for them.
All right,
Very good.
So that brings us to unfinished business and the replacement of the wheel loader bid. We had opened the bids last meeting, and there was some questions about, out of the three, which one, we should buy. The Milton Cat came in at the highest, then the John Deere, and then the Case. We put it off to get a little bit more information, and because Mark has researched this tremendously, we waiting for
we
him.
don't try to-
I did like that video you sent of the tug of war between the Cat and the John Deere. That
Deere.
was
Got that?
interesting, yes, yeah.
Did you see how what they're doing, a turn?
So,
That's one of the safety features. And the safety feature on the CAT is you don't have to climb on the machine anymore. Everything you do for daily maintenance is done on the ground. And instead of having a straight ladder going up for ergonomics, it's almost like a little step ladder now going in. Everything's on ergonomics right now. It's pretty neat. And then the John Deere wasn't so much, it was a typical loader. And Case is Case.
I think my biggest concern was the cost difference. How are we going to justify another $23,000 for something that probably is comparable? I think the John Deere was comparable, correct, to what we have now?
Well, all I'd say is, when we're all done junking this new one, okay, we're getting our money back, what, 30 grand or whatever they bid, 40 grand?
We got $43,100
That's what you're gonna see
in
if when you
trade.
trade it in. Everything else, you're not gonna see that.
Plus, Mark, you had said that the John Deere model,
Oh, yeah, they're discontinuing it.
they're discontinuing the model, which
Right,
is
that's
something
right,
we
too.
didn't know.
Yeah,
We
I
weren't
found
told
that
that.
out. It's the last year they're gonna have the model.
So to me, that sends up a red flag that
Right,
there's a
right.
reason they're discontinuing that model.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that was the most important one. I almost
Yeah.
forgot about it.
a surprise.
Ergonomically and everything, safety-wise, I think the CAT is. The safety thing, I was really shocked at. I couldn't believe it. So I go in those things all the time, and we're getting a 19. We're not getting an 18.
It's
And the
just a
John
lot
Deere
of
was an
money.
18, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was.
No, they stopped making an 18.
Something that we had talked about before, Mark, is the Cat is American-made,
Oh, yeah.
and the others weren't.
John Deere's not American-made.
No,
Made, made in Asia, correct?
right.
Right.
You think here. Yeah, John Deere's are made by Hitachi.
Hmm.
And then the cases are part of Fiat Alice. I believe it's part of Fiat Alice, which is what, French?
Italian, yep. Is,
I can justify it, but it's a better piece of equipment, but, if you're riding
Like,
on it, the
we-
cab is bigger.
As a town, you've had
The
Cat.
guys like it, the guys at the shop, and I can understand why. The window's more rounded out, different types of glass. And
More
the
room
and
in
the
it.
ergonomics and safety of servicing that machine, which is done twice a day, if they use it anyway, it was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like that in my
How
life.
often is this piece of machinery, how often is it used? Just at a, I mean,
Well, this one lasted 20 years and had
Almost every
10,000
day.
hours.
it's
They
daily.
use it all winter long for loading and moving snow. In the summertime and springtime, they may use it when they're doing road work and moving stuff around. So it gets a lot of use. We got over 20 years with the current one that we just sold, and we actually got a good return on it, 43,000, which
There's the makeup of the difference right there in the price.
the dealers were only going to give us, Cat was only going to give us 33 on the
Everyone else is
trade-in,
in the 20s.
and everybody else was under 30,000.
Yeah.
So
So what are they giving us in the trade?
The Cat was gonna give us 33,000. That was the max on the trade for them. But what we put it out on the open market, and we got 43,000, almost $10,000 more for it. Over 10,000, so.
And then what were the other ones gonna give? John Deere and what were they gonna?
What they're gonna trade
There
for
we
was under that, under
I could trade it
30,000.
here somewhere.
Is it?
Yeah, it's tab 9, second page.
What page?
Second page, tab 9.
Tab 9 in your books.
Yep. So they're giving like 8,000 more,
Who is?
according to this.
Right.
They're giving
They offered
8,000 more,
for trade-in than the others did,
11 more than John Deere.
so.
But we were able to sell it for 43.
Yeah, I might have actually been on the board when we bought that the first time, the original one. And I tried to look up and see how much we paid for it back then, and I couldn't find it.
I wanted to bid on that so bad.
So you're saying the biggest
The
things
snow.
is they're discontinuing the John Deere,
Yep.
and I'm just trying to justify 23,000, just for,
The
I
cab
mean-
on the John Deere was smaller.
Yeah.
The guys had a hard time fitting in. The Cat had a much larger cab than,
The whole thing is ergonomically impressive. I mean, I done a lot of loaders, and this year, I was like, holy Toledo, impressed. One grease fitting set, and it greases the whole machine. You keep the canister filled, and it greases the whole machine.
yeah. There's been a change. We've been really taking good care of all this equipment. They have a PM schedule.
Yeah.
So they're in there greasing them and changing oil so I'm a real advocate of PM stuff. And I think, to get 20-plus years out of a big piece of equipment it gets
They
you.
take care of this better than that one? You saw what that cab, well, you didn't rebuild it. Remember we spent all that money on rebuilding the cab?
Right,
It
right.
shouldn't have been like that. Mine's older than that, and it doesn't have a cab like that.
Yeah,
That was bad,
I wasn't here when I was.
awful. We spent like 50 grand on it.
That was crazy.
Wow.
I can't believe this, can I?
So I think to summarize what you said, Mark, is the Cat is ergonomically better,
Safety-wise, it's better.
safety better, maintenance-wise, it's easier to work on.
Oh, definitely. And we got a cat guy down the road that lives right down the street, which is on the road guy. That's even handy. And if it breaks down, they'll give us a loaner.
And the power is about the same, if I remember.
Yeah, it meets the specs. They're the ones who are underweight.
Yeah.
Number one, they didn't meet the spec. The weight-wise,
They didn't,
Didn't?
I thought all three met the spec.
not the weight-wise. Cat was the only one. Over 30,000. John Deere was 29,000. Case a little less.
Well, how did the other two make it into this process if they didn't meet spec?
There was
That's
there was
because-
something else that
What?
wasn't there something to do with the weights they were putting in the back to compensate? They both,
Now, why do you want to do that? If you got a machine that meets the specs, why buy a machine that doesn't meet the specs and add weight to it? That means the machine wasn't really engineered for that. In a way, they try that in my skid steers and I refuse it.
That's true.
Then why would we even consider the bid if it didn't meet the specs? I don't know.
I say.
Oh, well,
and this loader, I think, is a little bit bigger. Bigger
The bucket's bigger.
bucket's bigger.
I just want to justify 23 grand, and if the other two didn't meet the spec to begin with, then that eliminates two, and they should have never made it into the process to begin with.
Right.
right.
Well, Robert went through it, and he thought they all met the specs. I hadn't seen the weight difference.
No, there's a weight difference in every one of them. Yeah, John Deere didn't go over 30,000 pounds. I think Cat is like 31.
Well, I'm a big fan of the safety aspect. I don't think we're spending any money on ergonomic
No, and you go to
workers'
climb up in the yellow
compensation
motors,
issues, right?
you
Are
try-
we?
I was surprised by the cat. I tried it first. Then I went over to John Deere, and after having been in the cat and saw the ergonomics, the way the steps go, I mean, it's unbelievable. And everything you can do from the ground, other times you're climbing up on the hood, you're on fenders.
I think it would be a good idea just to see if the other two don't meet the spec. I mean, I understand everywhere where you're coming from. It makes sense to me, and I understand the ergonomic aspect. I understand the other issues. If they don't meet weight and they didn't meet the original spec when they came in, then they're out.
Right, and
Period.
that would be helpful.
And that settles, granted,
Robert said he went through every one and compared them. He did not tell me that there was a weight difference. So I'd have to go back and look at that. This is the first, I thought the specs were pretty much the same throughout.
Well,
Right.
I'm gonna suggest we table this till later in the
Yep.
meeting.
I agree.
We'll
Just
get the
text him.
specs, and we'll move on from that. Town manager report.
Oh, okay.
Does the town clerk need to be here for the town manager report?
What's that? Yeah,
Uh,
she should be here.
yeah.
We'll wait till she comes back.
Okay.
Um,
In case they don't record the
The tape.
meeting again. Yeah, the last meeting is, they pushed the wrong button in the control room, and the meeting didn't get taped. So it went out live, but there wasn't anything
Oh, really?
online for it.
I'll make sure Robert's here for the next one. He's got vacation this week.
Yeah.
He's
They,
religious about his hunting vacation, so.
Yeah, we may just want to meet with them.
to take care of the problem of not taping the meetings, the BCTV actually bought a DVD recorder, to record it while we were going on, just in case.
Thank you, Patty.
I'll pass it down that way. We're gonna table this for later on in the meeting, until we can check the specs out. We're gonna go to the town manager's report.
Okay, just a reminder, our next meeting on the 23rd, we're going to have a public hearing for the fire station. And I don't think we're going to have slides. I may talk to Terry about putting some up, but we'll just have the numbers.
Are we going to put a mailer out?
Yes, we are.
And we're gonna make sure it goes to everybody?
Everybody,
Is
yep.
I still hear almost every day when I talk to people about, they did not get the notice, so.
We'll make sure,
The public hearing is for the entire warrant.
Entire warrant.
right, for the entire warrant,
So you want a mailing to go out about the.
just the
entire
fire
warrant.
station.
Well, the entire warrant, but make sure the fire station is headlined first.
Yeah, these are the bids.
On November 7th, at the county, there's going to be a presentation for the Spirit of America. All the towns, people get together that got the awards, and the county makes commissioners do something. That's at 3:30 in Alfred. So if anybody can make it, that would be great. I will be there. Funda Jupiter is now the official owner of the 7.8 lot. The
Really?
paperwork got signed and into our, into the legal this morning.
Excellent.
So they are, the-
What's gonna happen now?
good question.
We
There's
can
an awful
tax
lot of
it.
conversation going
Yeah,
back and
but
forth
we
with Les
couldn't- we couldn't
Bodwell
ask him anything?
and Mark Kahaya, but we've gone over a month, and I haven't heard from Mark. Nobody has, not even his lawyers, but he is talking to Les, so I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of rumors flying around, but I don't know for sure.
And didn't Les have a architect? a
Yeah, they
designer?
were here on Friday, last Friday. Tom House came, and with some structural engineers to look at the building, the first building over here. I could have told him that if he'd just asked that we had structural engineers as part of the whole brownfield process, but Les is looking at our marketing survey that we had done, so he's thinking about what he can do with that. I don't know what Mark's plans are. All I know at this point is that the closing is official, he signed the documents, and it's going into the registry.
Excellent.
So that's,
Yeah, this has got a bigger bucket too. This is 300 cubic yard bucket.
What's the,
I can't find it. Oh, here we go.
There's a gentleman came to see me today. They're having some work done over on Moore Street. They're running water lines up a different area. He asked if we, before he has all the legal work done, he wanted to know if we were interested in having an easement so we wouldn't have to jump through hoops to do any work. There's no cost associated with that. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I'll call him tomorrow if he's okay with that, and we'll say yes, put our name down as an easement so we can get in and work on our water lines. We actually have some water lines that are on private property. That was done many years ago. It's a nightmare. So this would make sense. What else? And that's about all I have at this point. We interviewed 3 people for the finance position, and we have temporarily reached out to one of them. I need to get a list of his references and check, but and I will meet with him on Thursday to talk about the position and offering him the job. But I thought we had 3 good candidates. It's amazing to me that we had nobody with municipal experience to speak of. So I think we have 1 from New Hampshire, but so it's people are sitting still. They're not moving around, which is rather interesting.
31,363 on this one. Cat.
That's all I have.
Any questions for the town manager?
I see that.
We're very sad Maureen's leaving.
Maureen's
Friday
last
is her
day.
last day.
Friday is her last day, yep.
Spit
I have
that
one
down,
question,
Ed, would
Tom.
ya?
Steve, do you
got
need
it.
something official from the board for the easement?
No, it's just they're offering the easement to us.
That's the 3, right?
You're
Yeah.
just accepting it.
Okay.
So, and there's no cost involved, so it's just a legal
Was
document.
that the weights?
They'll sign, and I'll sign it.
That's what you wrote down.
I guess
then.
you could vote, maybe
I
you
didn't
should
write that
vote
down.
No, I wrote it.
to
Would you get it off the brochures?
authorize, it to happen,
Here's the heaviest.
to make sure.
Why?
Is we're talking about the easement for the water line is over on Moore Street. Is Steve suggests that we have an official vote for it, to accept the easement. Is I will make a motion that we allow Steve to reach out to the homeowner to arrange for the water easement
I'll second your motion.
at no cost to the town.
Yeah, no cost.
No cost. We like those kind of deals.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. All right. Selectmen's communications. Got our bi-weekly one from Comcast Xfinity. It seems like they have one here every week. And this is from Comcast about government relations, contact information for municipal emergencies. It basically just says that Brian Christensen is our contact.
Yep.
Has been all along.
Nothing's changed.
So, I have one for the York County, same thing as Steve said for the Spirit of America Foundation. The date is November 7th at York County Commissioner's Office in Alfred, Maine at 3:30. If anybody can make it,
Here's the book from John Deere.
moving to attend.
That cat of John Deere.
I do also want to just mention that this Saturday, there's going to be a voter registration being held. Saturday morning at the town hall here during the Legion of the Library Yard Sale. Ladies Auxiliary Yard Sale. And then again in the evening at the...
It's a craft show, I believe, not just...
Oh, right, yeah, there, it's a craft show for the
Craft show.
holiday. Yep,
Right.
yep. Thank
Sure.
you. And then again, in the evening, the library is holding a fundraising, a bluegrass concert up at the high school, and there will be a voter registration table up there also. And that brings us to...
You have one press release.
I do?
Yep. Where's that one? It's from Maine Municipal.
Yeah, you gotta put a rear cast counterweight on it.
You have that there?
to reach that weight.
Yeah,
The tab
theirs
will-
comes that way.
Oh, there we go. Looking in the wrong tab.
Here comes
A press release.
Here's another way, you add to bring it up, you gotta
Municipal
put the
officials are pleased to
counterweights.
announce that the town of Berwick has received an $8,436 dividend check from the Maine Municipal Association as a result of its good loss experience and loss prevention programs. I like the word of that, a good loss experience.
Oxymoron.
Yeah. I won't read through the whole press release. It's part of the program that the Maine Municipal Insurance sends out. Is since 1997, they have returned over $22 million to participating members. And we've had our fair share of them lately, haven't we? So,
We've done pretty well. I think that, like, the water department receiving the award tonight, just shows that all departments are not up to their standards at this point, but I think all of our departments do a good job in trying to manage things well so nobody gets hurt, so.
Right. Now we'll go to accounts payable. You have a water warrant, 0912 from September 20th, 2018, the amount of $3,113.81. Account payable warrant, 1912 from September 20th, 2018, for the amount of $80,240.49. We have a payroll warrant, 1913 from September 27th, 2018, for the amount of $50,609.34. We have account payable warrant, 1913 from September 27th, 2018, for the amount of $76,620.71. We have a water warrant, 0913 from September 27th, 2018, for the amount of $16,151.34. We have a payroll warrant, 1914 from October 4th, 2018, for the amount of $51,217.35. Account payable warrant, 1914 from October 4th, 2018, for the amount of $777,626.60. We have a water warrant, 0914 for October 4th, 2018, for the amount of $2,947.28. And we have a payroll warrant, 1915 for October 11th, 2018, for the amount of $52,992.28. I'll make a motion that we pay our bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. That brings us to new business. Is setting the public hearing date for November 6th town referendum election, for the November 6th town referendum election, for October 23rd, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Thank you. Set the polling hours for the November 6th town referendum and state general elections. The town clerk recommends 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? I just want to ask Patty, has anybody said anything since we don't open at 6 o'clock? No.
No,
So,
no,
is,
and the savings, I think are worth it.
yeah, I haven't had too many people, complain about it, so I was just wondering.
I think a presidential election, I
Not for the midterms thing.
So the cat and the case are the same weight, the deer's 28.7. That's what it is.
So,
Just had him text it over. So I didn't realize the case was actually,
all right, and we have
Good
a CMP poll petition for Diamond Hill Road. And from the description, it looks like they just putting a pole between two existing poles to serve a new, have it service a new service.
I'd move we accept the Central Maine Power application for pole location as presented.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. And we have foreclosed property bid for 196 Little River Road.
This
You
is
could
a
fill
piece
us
of
in a little
property
bit?
that Maureen has worked, trying to get the owner to come in and speak with her. They don't turn phone calls, they haven't been in to see her. It's been quite, as you can see, a long period of time. So our recommendation is let's put this out to bid and get it back on the tax rolls.
Yep.
Is that a motion?
Sorry.
that's a motion.
Yes, that's a motion.
The motion as presented. Do
Second.
we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
We've really had very few foreclosed property bids in the last several years.
Yeah.
So we've been very fortunate there. And I think the payment program that we have set up
Well,
has
yeah.
worked out well for that. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. That brings us to quitclaim deeds and installment contracts. Let's see here. Now, quitclaim deeds and installment contract is Stephen Tolliver, and there is a Stephen Tolliver. Do you have any information you can give us on this, Steve?
Just what they've paid up on their tax liens and,
No, these are, Sue Tebow is right
Oh.
here. She
Oh.
will explain to you.
Okay.
So I'm doing a title search.
oh,
on this
okay.
property. And as part of the title search, we came across some undischarged liens that have in fact been paid. One of the liens dates back to 1976. The town gave a deed back then, but they gave it to a deceased owner, so the deed isn't effective. So one of the deeds you have is for that 1976 tax lien. We're asking, instead of giving it to the name of the deceased taxpayer, that you give it to the heirs of the deceased taxpayer, which would make it an effective conveyance from the town. The town is not able to convey a deed to someone who's deceased. It's ineffective, so we're
We're not
asking
gonna
to
get any
get
money
a
from them, that's for
corrective
sure.
deed on that one. There is another one which was given directly to the taxpayer back in the early 90s. At that time, it was the practice of the town to mail them to the taxpayer with instructions that they deliver them to the Registry of Deeds. It was not done, and the person lost it. So we're asking for a replacement deed on that one. And then the third deed that you have there is for a deed that actually was paid. There is no discharge of record, although the taxes have been paid. Because it's beyond the redemption period, we need to get a deed from the town in order to cure that defect. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but it's to fix things that have.
So this is all on the same piece
All
of
in the
property?
same parcel, yes.
Right, okay.
Okay.
And should we do them in order by date?
It doesn't matter, they're all gonna be put on record. It's just to cure what's already existing. The individual has the property back in their name, but in order for them to convey it, the new buyer is requiring that these issues all be resolved because it looks like the town still has title.
Right.
And we need 3 separate motions. Or could we do it all as?
Do it all in one if you'd like.
Any
Everything's all paid up?
It's not a matter of them owing us money.
No.
No, they were
It's-
already.
It's
paying.
clearing the history, the
Right.
title of the property so it can convey properly
Right.
to the rightful owner.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, so we need a corrective.
You need a corrective or replacement, and then one that was never actually ever signed by the town. Subsequent tax years were discharged, but this particular one was never discharged.
Okay, maybe we should do them one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Make it
Make
easier
it
for you?
easier.
All right. So I would move that we accept the municipal quitclaim deed for the property listed as map R041, lot 005. What else we need to put in there?
Maybe by the year.
Yeah, dated August 21st, 2000, and recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds at book 10178, page 86, as it is presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Thank you.
That's one. Let's see. So I would move that we accept the corrective municipal quitclaim deed identified in 1978 as map R2, lot 228 on the tax maps of the town of Berwick, dated, I guess this is January 19th, 1978, and recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds at book 2329, page 75, as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Right, this is signed by Eleanor.
Yeah, I saw that.
And finally, I move we accept municipal quitclaim deed regarding map R041, lot 0005, on the tax maps of the town of Berwick, revised April 1st, 2014, for town of Berwick property tax lien dated 20 September 1996, and recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds at book 8000, page 92, as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
I'll get you started. You're welcome.
How long has Barbara Martin been gone from town?
2010,
Name?
maybe?
Attorney what?
Is that when we hired Maureen? No.
So she got to see us vote on the easement too, because you're doing that, I think. I've heard your name but never met you, so.
That brings us to abatements and supplementals.
Okay, well, there are no supplementals, they're all abatements, unfortunately. Tax bills went out, and people are looking at their tax bills, so. Okay, so the first one is an abatement for a property on 184 Blackberry Road, map R64, lot 4-2. It's a newly constructed, single-family home situated on 15.5 acre parcel. The subject property has a cathedral ceiling that was not noted on the sketch or on the information that we had gathered. So as a result, there's a reduction in the gross living area, which reduces the value by $3,500 from $153,100 to $149,600. We recommend an abatement be granted in the amount of $61.60.
Is that the house that isn't sided yet, across the old Blackberry Hill Farm? Put together?
Yes, I believe it is.
Run the CSA there?
Yep.
Yep,
Yep.
okay.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Okay, this one's a little bit more difficult. This is property on Long Swamp Road, tax map R4, lot 4-1. The subject property is a .4 acre vacant parcel situated along Long Swamp Road. On December 3rd, 2015, the ownership of the subject parcel transferred from Don M. Milbury to Wade Worcester per deed as recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds.
Am I missing a name here?
On December 10th, 2015, the ownership was transferred again from Wade Worcester to Stephen Brown per deed recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds. Due to a data entry error, the owner of the subject property as of April 1st, 2016 was entered as Wade Worcester, and where it should have been Stephen Brown. Stephen Brown was the owner of the abutting lots R4, lot 4-4A, R4, lot 4, as of April 1st, 2016. On June 14th, 2016, the subject property was split, and the ownership of a portion was transferred to Steve Brown, from Steve Brown to Matthew Warrant as part of a purchase of a larger abutting parcel. Tax map R4, lot 4-A, and a portion of the subject property was transferred to Steve Brown, from Steve Brown to Cutting Edge Carpentry, also as part of a purchase of a larger parcel. So for fiscal year 2016-17, the subject parcel was assessed to the wrong owner, Wade Worcester. For fiscal years 17-18 and 18-19, the subject property was also assessed to the wrong owner, Wade Worcester, and correctly assessed as part of the larger parcels owned by Matthew Warrant and Cutting Edge. So we're recommending here that we grant an abatement to Wade Worcester for the amount that he paid in the last 3 years of $443.23, but they were also taxed on those other properties, so we had already picked up that tax as well. So that's why there's not a supplement here that's required. Typically, I would only go back a year. Where it was our mistake and our error, I felt it was prudent to, to go back to 3 years.
3 years is the maximum, is
That's
that
the
it?
maximum, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Paul?
Nope. I would move that we accept the abatement application as recommended by the town assessor.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Some of these deeds that come in, there's no plot plan, and there's little pieces that are left off, and it's just, somehow it's just really hard to find that stuff. Okay, this one is regards to Great Works Regional Land Trust. I believe you received a letter from them. They have applied to put the property in the open space classification. However, it was beyond the statutory deadline of April 1st. Hold on here. Great Works is requesting an abatement for the 2018-19 tax year due to an oversight in not submitting their open space application before April 1st, 2018, for consideration of the 18-19 tax year. Great Works Regional Reed Trust, as it was explained earlier, we do not have the authority as the assessor, or I don't have the authority, I guess, to accept this, so I'm recommending it be denied. As a board, it's up to you. You could accept it if you so desire. If you did, it would reduce their assessed value by 75% from $171,375 to, that's the reduction, from $228,500 to $57,125, and the taxes owed from $4,021.60 to $1,005.40. So the abatement would be for $3,016.20. So is that our recommendation as the assessor would be to deny it?
I'm just going to say that as, because my brother is involved in it, and even though I don't have any fiduciary interest in any of this. I'm gonna recuse myself from this vote. So there's, questions, comments?
This is regards to a 78.18 acre parcel located on tax map R 57 lot 52, for the record.
That's a piece of property that the Prime left us.
The Kaplan brothers. did,
Kaplan
yeah,
brothers,
yeah.
yeah. So nothing, is it too wet in the field to do anything there? Is that field we see from the road pretty wet?
We talked about having that as woodcock habitat for that.
You got 2 bears on New Dam Road. I know a cub bear and a mother bear. Caught her on camera. Funny as hell.
I think there's a lot of good things that you guys do, but, you know, if I hadn't submitted my, my application, I would not have been afforded any opportunity for an abatement either. I'm not sure why there was an administrative oversight. I'm having a problem with this one. I'm going to move that that we accept the town assessor's recommendation.
I'll second.
Correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
What do you think, Mike?
What do I think?
Well, it's $3,000. What do you think he thinks?
I think, that we should be granted the abatement. The oversight came,
Michael, could you step to the microphone so people at home could hear?
the oversight came when we applied to Natural Resource Conservation Service to help with, for funding to help with our management plan. If we were to put it, originally, we generally would put properties into tree growth. To put it into tree growth, you need to have a management plan. We didn't want to have to pay for a management plan while we're hoping to get a grant to pay for a management plan. So that's how the oversight came about. We're waiting to hear from NRCS. We didn't hear back from them. Our stewardship director is very busy with other matters, all of the properties that we have to manage and whatnot. And it was just an oversight. The property that we have doesn't require many town services. We do an awful lot for the town. If the town was to buy property, to have public trails and whatnot, it would cost you an awful lot more than $3,000. So I think that the $3,000 abatement is a really big, really good bargain for the town. And I would wish that you would consider that and grant the request for the abatement. And I'll be happy to answer any other questions if I can.
Was there any communication that was going on with the town while you were doing this application? So it seems to me there was oversight, but if you guys were in the process of doing this, I'm confused as why there probably wasn't any communication with the town.
Right. If you were working.
I can't answer for the stewardship director on that. I know we often talk with the assessor's office on the properties that we're involved with.
Sure.
I can't really give you an explanation of why.
Well, are you
that
paying
might-
taxes on the pole line?
Pardon me?
Are you paying, is there a pole line through there now?
The CMP has a right-of-way through there.
You shouldn't be paying taxes on that.
I don't know that we are.
Talk to the man.
Yeah, there's, well, there's not that much. There's a 10% reduction for topography. That's the only thing on there. And I said, without looking at the deed, I'm not sure. Is it an easement that's on that property? Is
Yeah,
that-
there's an easement.
That big pole?
But no poles.
Yeah. There was communications between us. And Karen, I said, I know Karen has talked to somebody a couple times, you know, waiting for the application to come in, and it never came in by the April 1st date.
But there was
So what do we get for the $3,000 on that piece of property? If we give you an abatement, what are you gonna do on that property to keep the money in town?
Well, we have plans to put hiking trails out there. They'll be available for the public to come out and hike and
So that
recreate.
you're gonna dedicate that $3,000 to that piece of property?
He can't
It
say.
would probably be going into our unrestricted funds, and that would, you know, that's.
'Cause that would
covers-
make me happy. If you're gonna put the $3,000 in taxes due into that piece of property, I'd vote for it.
And he can't make that
Yeah,
determination?
exactly. That's a board
Well,
decision.
We have a board meeting tomorrow night. I can certainly bring it up to them.
Come back to us.
I could.
I do have a question for Paul. Just reading through this, I'm a little confused as to the timeline.
Yeah.
This says Great Works got the property in August of 2018. How can you possibly submit the paperwork in April of 2018?
It was, they acquired it in August 24th, 2017.
Oh, okay, this
I
says
think,
18.
oh, I'm sorry, it does,
That's why I'm a little confused.
oh, no, I'm sorry, it was 2017. That was a misprint.
That makes more sense anyways.
Yep, yep.
So, Great Works budget is, we're a pretty streamlined group. We don't have a lot of money to work with. Every penny counts, just like it does for the town and whatnot. If we, the $3,000 would help us function and keep us,
No, I wanna see $3,000 worth of work done out there. We gotta do something.
yeah.
We're bartering here, aren't we? Negotiations?
Yep, well, I'm sure we're gonna be having more than $3,000 into this project, so. We've also had discussions with the sewer district about including their property into a trail connecting with Great Works. So there'd be a larger trail system. It would be giving the residents an opportunity to get out and hike for maybe more than a half an hour or whatever. I think there's a lot there. I don't know, have anybody been to any of our other public places, Keybrook perhaps?
I have.
Yeah, Keybrook is a very popular,
Why, after they dump the trout in it? you go-
popularly
you go
used
look at it?
trail. You know, we'll be having one down on Powerhouse Road there. It's closer to a lot of people. I think we'll be getting a lot more use out of it. You know, $3,000, maybe we won't have enough money to get the trail open as soon as we would like.
So there was communication, though. You guys did communicate with your office as far as what the plan
There was
was.
some, yes, what the options were for them with that property. When they purchased the property, they were gonna put it in tree growth. And as he said, you know, they couldn't get the tree growth plan in time for the deadline, so they decided to go with the open space. But we never received it until August.
Well, we have a motion on the floor to deny the abatement.
I don't like this one.
I get to recuse myself, so.
Yeah.
Can I too? My only concern, does it set precedence in any way?
It will set
Okay,
precedence.
that's my concern.
That's my concern.
Okay.
It's not that trust me,
Right.
I've been to a couple of properties out in Wells and
Oh, yeah.
things of that nature. You guys do a great job, but
Absolutely.
if we set a precedent by approving this, it will set the stage for those that come later. And it's, believe me, I would love to give you a break, but it puts him in a bind as well. So I have to, as a representative of the town, I believe that it's important to accept the assessor's recommendation at this point in time, regretfully, because I think you guys do great things. But I don't want to set a standard. And it's unfortunate that, you know, the application couldn't get in time. I understand that those things happen. But, you know, I revert to my
Can it go back to that next year?
Right.
Yeah, next year, so basically, they're gonna lose
No, we've-
3,000
We've
for
already
you.
applied
It's
for,
already applied and been approved. Yeah.
So,
no, and we're gonna be, we have a forester who's working on our management plan right now as well. Because we finally got our grant from Natural Resource Conservation Service.
I agree with you, Ed. I think it's the same.
Yep. It's a tough one, but,
It
you know, it's something that I don't appreciate doing, because again, I appreciate the things that the Great Works does, and I certainly support that, but at the same time, there's a precedent that I don't want set for future applicants.
The motion is to deny the abatement. All those in favor? And I will recuse myself.
Okay, next one is for a property on Old Sanford Road, map R41, lot 16. Subject property is a 33.33 acre vacant parcel. It was incorrectly assessed with a foundation. There was not a foundation on the property, so we're just recommending that the assessment be reduced from $120,400 to $110,400. Recommending an abatement in the amount of $176.
So moved.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Is that- Okay, next one is for a property on 121 Rochester Street, tax map U5, lot 21-1. Subject property is a .97 acre parcel with a 3-car garage with living space above the garage. The improvements that we had noted was 100% complete. Upon inspection of the property, with an interior and exterior inspection, it was determined that it was only 50% complete. So it's recommended that an abatement be granted in the amount of $983.84, reducing the assessed value by $55,900 from $179,900 to $124,400. $124,000 even. It's one of these things that looks complete from the outside, but once the owner got his bill and we got in, it wasn't completed.
Move we accept the assessor's recommendation for abatement for U005, TAC 2-1, TAC 1.
A second.
Any discussion? No. Just one question, though. It
Sure.
says it's determined to be 50% complete. Do they have an occupancy permit?
No.
Okay.
No. Double check, but I don't think so, no. We went out there October 1st, so.
All right. All those in favor? Thank you.
All right, next one, property on Hall Road, map 40, lot 2. Subject property is a 69.88 acre parcel situated on Hall Road. A building permit was issued to construct a new single-family dwelling on 6/2/16, which, a 2.89 parcel with a newly constructed dwelling was split from this lot in 17, creating a new lot, which is R40, lot 2-1. So the dwelling was assessed correctly on the new lot and incorrectly on the subject property, so we're picking it up twice. So, it is recommended that an abatement be granted in the amount of $3,141.60, reducing the assessed value by $178,500 from $383,800 to $205,300.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Okay, and the last one is property on Cranberry Meadow Road, map R43, lot 3A. Subject property is a 2.1 acre vacant parcel situated on Cranberry Meadow Road. The lot is the remaining land from a 7 acre lot that had 2 lot splits. A 1.3 acre lot and a 2.71 acre lot on May 18, 2017. The subject property was assessed as a vacant buildable lot with an assessed value of $75,500. However, it does not have enough street frontage to meet the current zoning requirements, and it should have been assessed as a vacant undividable lot with an assessed value of $7,500. So it's recommended that an abatement be granted in the amount of $1,196.80, reducing the assessed value by $68,000 from $75,500 to $7,500. $7,500.
So moved.
Right.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we get more friggin' abatements. This is a big night, huh?
Is,
That was a tough.
could we get an
For $3 grand,
update
I know.
for our next meeting on how much we have given out in abatements?
Yeah.
It seems like we've been given an awful lot
Oh.
of abatements. So,
Yeah, we can do that.
How come?
Well, there's a lot of, they're finding a lot of corrections.
right, they're going through everything, more closely and looking at
Things weren't done properly before.
Yeah.
And they've started doing the valuation, which is a 3-year process. So they're looking at every property and making adjustments because there's mistakes.
What now, Thomas?
All right, that brings us to our second public comment, and since we have no public here, I guess we don't have to worry about that. We have no executive session, so under the other business, we'll bring back the wheel loader. What did you guys find out from your research?
Well, it's not a whole lot different, really,
What?
from the,
Weight?
yeah.
Yeah, a couple thousand pounds, yeah.
But they did meet the specs as listed?
No. Not the specs.
Well, I was looking at the invitation for bid, and I don't see anything in there about
Oh, I didn't look at
a
that.
weight requirement.
Should we wait to talk to Robert?
Is it gonna,
I don't know.
we already put it off once for
Right.
bond.
And Robert sent a letter saying that, he recommends the cat because that's what they're used to and they've had good luck with it, so.
That's my belief.
So, do we have a motion?
You have a motion
Or,
And
to accept the bid for the cat loader.
from the Cap Milton is, we have an official, right.
What'd you say?
where's the language? They have language in there.
I'll read the language, is that, was put out this would be the official vote, is, that a capital acquisition project consisting of the lease of a new front-end loader with associated equipment is hereby approved so long as the annual payment to be made during the 2018-19 fiscal year is no greater than $32,000 as provided by Article 29 in the annual town meeting results from June 12th, 2018, and that the lease financing for the project in the principal amount not to exceed $147,500 is awarded to Androscoggin Savings Bank pursuant to its proposal dated September 17th, 2018, selecting a 5-year term option at the applicable interest rate identified in such proposal, and that the town manager is hereby authorized to execute the lease purchase agreement, make other requisite determinations pursuant to this vote, and execute any and all other documents reasonably necessary to accomplish the purpose of the vote, and that said lease is hereby designated a bank-qualified tax-exempt obligation of the town for the 2018 calendar year under the provisions of Section 265, subsection B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. And,
That's a
and-
mouthful.
yeah, and that was for the Caterpillar, Mark?
The what?
Your motion
Caterpillar?
for the Caterpillar?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Back on your second.
I'm struggling with the money, the difference, I'm sorry.
There was I'm sorry, there was a weight requirement listed in the specs, and it was 30,000 pounds, and these all meet that.
No, they don't.
Well, the Deere has 32.8.
Right, that's what they're telling you.
Well, I'm going to second the motion just so we can start the official
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you.
So,
Whatever you want to do.
Well, this was for the 524, so the John Deere operating weight listed in their manual's only 28,574 for the high lift. Is that what we're?
I believe we're getting a high lift, aren't we? We're getting a high lift.
for
What's
loading,
that?
for loading the
High lift loader.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, it's going over the,
for loading the big trucks.
Yeah, so we can load salt.
Right.
And just so you know, it was 147,000 was the max. The total cost after we put in what, the.
Money from the sale of the other one?
Yeah, it's 134,291. So,
Okay.
I do have to ask a question. The way, reading through this is talking about a lease. Are we buying this or are we leasing it?
we're leasing.
Leasing it,
Lease purchase.
Oh, it's a lease purchase?
Right.
Okay.
right. This way we've been doing most of our heavy equipment lately, is, it gives us the option of extending the payments out, so we don't have a huge capital cost right up front, and then, we end up with the vehicles, equipment afterwards.
Because for a while back, several years ago, we went through a period of cutting the CIP significantly, and
Real
we've been
brilliant.
playing catch-up ever since.
Yeah.
So it hurt us.
With your equipment and your roads.
So, yeah, both.
Both.
And to our detriment, unfortunately.
And we try to keep the lease length, it's 4 to 5 years.
then you can buy it,
Huh?
buy it.
Yeah.
Right, or buy it, get another one.
Trying to spread out the big trucks so we don't replace one after another.
Yeah.
I didn't get you in that one. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Can I have undecided? Oh my gosh.
And,
All right, I'm gonna go with it. I'm in favor.
In favor of it? And 5-0. Very good.
Guys are gonna be so much comfortable in it.
Um,
Tell you right now.
Any other non-agenda items
He's
for the
got
board?
ride control.
Yes, just one
Loader.
other item.
Pickup truck.
We have on the agenda that we were going to sit and talk about the town hall use policy. At this time, my recommendation is that we schedule it for an off night, because we're going to start picking up and getting busier. So I'll schedule it so Lisa can be here and Patty can be here so we can talk about it, because they're the two that really manage. Huh? And Kim as well. So,
Yeah, so I'd like to meet the new building inspector.
yeah,
And I don't know, I think we should be introduced to new town employees.
okay.
I mean, that's personal, if anyone is, you know.
Yeah, I'll make sure that, that the code enforcement officer is here at your next meeting, and as well as if we come to an agreement on the finance director, I think that should be something that, even though I hire all the personnel, I think you should weigh in on this person. He's managing quite a bit of money, so I always feel that this, you should have some say.
Did anyone within the town hall apply?
Huh?
Did anyone in the town hall apply?
No. The one person you're thinking of does not want to do that job.
One more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.